Welcome to the Fight Palace.
The fuck was that?
We are back. Today we're doing Slaughter Sport. Released in 1991 by Razorsoft. Well, this predates Mortal Kombat, this predates Street Fighter. It's one of the earliest fighting games for the Genesis, and also, it's one of the first violent fighting games. And, well, look at this. This is the story. This is what they show you.
Hold on 1 second there, Jim. You forgot a few little facts. This game is actually based off of a Commodore 64 game called Mondu's Fight Palace, which in turn was based off of a MS-DOS game called Tongue of the Fatman. Somehow, this game managed to get ported to 3 different systems. We have no idea why. Either way, let's start taking a look at all these shitty characters. Well, you have Rex. He's your typical martial arts guy. Nothing special. You have Edwina, your typical punk rock chick who doesn't take no shit. So now we have a character named Guano, which literally translates to batshit. Yeah, they're real clever with that one. Bonaparte, I get it. I get jokes. Now we have Robo Chicken, who may in fact be the influence for the TV show Robot Chicken. Just go with it. Stump. Now here's a guy, he's like the physical form of Slimer. So I don't mind him so much. Ramses. Yeah, we get it. It's a bull. Ebra. Ooh, she sounds badass. But really, she's not. Well, now here's MC Fire, who's the evil version of Rex. Really just a palette swap. Mondu, the king of the tournament, Mr. Fatass. A tongue for a belly and eyeballs for nipples. Watch out. Sheba, once again, evil version of Edwina. I think you're starting to see a pattern. Weasel, same deal. He's just a palette swap. Although, one thing I am noticing with all these bad guys is they all seem to be a little stronger or older or way more than the good guys. So what's this game trying to say? Evil's better? Psh. Either way, the rest of these guys, they're just palette swaps, nothing special. Just a cheap attempt to say they have more fighters than they do.
The graphics. Well, actually, they're above average. We have to give credit where it's due. The characters are the real attraction in this game, both with the sprites and the animations they have. The character models are pretty detailed, and they really have that early 90s charm to them. They're wacky, they're creative, there's animals, there's skeletons, you get the idea. You get different animations for attacks, for taking hits, and even for taunts, so that's actually pretty good for the time. The backgrounds are a bit of a different story. For the most part, you get a few different locations, many which you really can't see what they are. One of them is like an underground stage, one of them is a cave, but really a lot of them turn out to be palette swaps. It doesn't compare to Sonic or any of the other top titles of the time, but it is still above average. And trust us, there are many uglier games that we could be playing.
Let's give this music a little listen to. Well, right off the bat, you can hear those power-ups really fuck with your ears the whole time, as does this music. Now, I know I'm going out on a stretch here, but part of me really thought that this sounded something like Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I know I'm wrong, but still, it's maybe just me hoping for something better. When you're playing this game, each round, they have a unique soundtrack, but each one is just as bad as the last. There's nothing special going on here, and I want you guys to check this out. Just listen. There, you see that? They actually cut out the music in the middle of the stage, and then loop it back on. I mean, that's just lazy programming, or I don't know what the hell they're doing. Either way, overall, me and Jim, we gave this way below average. It sucks.
Here we go. The controls. The controls are bad. They are very bad. They're the opposite of good. They're bad. It's 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 bad. Words just can't describe it. And, I mean, of the games we've played so far, it's barely better than Best of the Best. And that game had 2 buttons. And if you think this looks stiff, and trust me, it looks stiff. It plays even stiffer. The control, well, to say it's clunky, that's gonna be nuts. You want to talk about responsive controls? Well, good luck finding that, because it's not gonna be here. And there are just so many goddamn wrongs with this game that there aren't any rights. Now, a lot of people like to say that Shaq Fu is the worst fighting game. They don't know shit. And I repeat, the only thing that really makes up for it is the fact that there weren't any good fighting games at the time to copy off of. It's just horrible.
So, as we showed you before, the basic story behind this game is Mondu the Fat is holding a fighting tournament, and every time you beat one of these guys, you gain their souls. Yeah, I know, it sounds real original and epic, but it's not. You play as the basic guy Rex, who's your typical martial arts fighter from the early 90s. You go through a slew of opponents who get tougher as you go on, and hey, just for fun, you have to pay for your health, because it doesn't replenish in between opponents, which really makes this gameplay annoying. But they do kind of give you a break. After every 4 fights, you are given the code to that player's soul, and so you can restart at that player, so you don't have to go through them all again. But to make it worse, every time you lose, 2 or 3 times, you have that fat tub of fuck telling you you suck and that you're gonna get eaten by his sharks. I mean, it's bad enough you're playing a terrible game, but then you got a guy with bitch tits telling you you're no good. And these sharks he's talking about, well, that is actually the coolest part of this game, and we're gonna give you one of our little montages. So take a look at this. Overall, it's average for the time.
Alright. We've played a lot of fighting games at this point. I mean, way more than we've gotten to in reviews. And we really don't remember seeing this many options in a fighter. Especially for this time. I mean, really back then, no games had a lot of the mechanics you had here. You could buy a whole bunch of different combinations of attacks, power-ups. You could change, your statistics. You could even choose to replenish your health or not. There's really a lot of options that you get in this game, and it's something to be commended. Now, there's also variety in the characters, and really, you're not going to see too many of these character models in other games. Think about it. Where else are you going to see a fat guy with eyeballs for nipples and a giant tongue coming from his gut? It's going to be hard to find. Now, Brian was a little more fair, and he gave the original an Audi a 9, and I wound up giving it a 7. And I think the only reason I did that is because the rest of the game's so bad, I was a little reluctant to give it more credit than it deserved. But overall, it's pretty original.
Alright, fine, I'll give it some points. Replayability. This game, for the early 90s, you didn't have any other fighter that had this many unique fighters in it. You had power-ups, you had different ways to spend your money, you can have attacks, you can have health, a million different ways to play it, and you can technically use a cheat code to go through the main game story using other guys, which doesn't really help your chances of beating the game, but it does increase this game's replayability. Now, like we said before about all these other games, not necessarily saying you want to replay it, but if you, for some reason, were a random Slaughter Sport fan, you could spend hours and hours playing this piece of shit. High scores from both of us.
Take a look at this. This is a fat man licking a fart out of a bat monster's ass. and that's about as much fun in real life as you'd have playing this game. It's the product of its time. SNK built an empire on Street Fighter II clones, but this game did not have that luxury. It's got charm for being a violent game with toy humor way before Mortal Kombat. And for all the good the graphics and gameplay do, the control just brings it all to a screeching halt. And it's a shame because it's a game that had a lot of potential, but it just missed the mark so bad where it mattered the most.
Welcome.
Overall, we gave it a 3.5. And if you want a little beer choice with it, well, a crappy game deserves a crappy beer, so grab a Schlitz.
While playing this piece of shit, we enjoyed some Red Stripe. And remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.